My name is Charles Harrell. I'm here interviewing Mr. Lloyd Brown, who was a World War I veteran. Mr. Brown, would you tell me your complete name, sir?
Well, that's it, Lloyd Brown.
No middle name?
No.
Can you tell me the place of your birth?
October the 7th,
1899.
1901, but I was underage, and in order to get into the military in World War I told them I was born in 1899.
But you were actually born in 1901.
Yeah. So I said 1899 is on my records with the fire department, government work, Social Security, everything is 1899. All the records show that.
Where were you born?
I was born in Missouri, Ozark County, Missouri.
Attending this interview is Miss Ashley Eller.
And her mother, Michelle Sullivan.
Sandra Edwin.
Nancy Espina.
And myself. Mr. Brown, could you state for the record what war you were in?
In World War I,
And what branch of service were you in?
Navy.
And what was your rank?
Seaman second class
And where did you serve?
on the New Hampshire.
Can you go back and remember your parents?
Yeah.
Can you tell me something about your parents? What job they had, what their names were?
Well, my father had a business in Suffolk, Missouri. Buying eggs and chickens and turkeys and dressing them and wrapping them up in paper and putting them in barrels, shipping them to St. Louis. That's what his business was.
What was his name?
Huh?
What was his name?
Claude, C-L-A-U-D.
And your mother?
Birdie, B-I-R-D-I-E.
What did she do?
What?
What was her job?
Oh, she was a housewife.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I had in my family, we had 7 boys and 2 girls in the family.
And where were you in that family?
Orva, Ray, Lloyd. I was the 4th one born.
So in the middle.
Yeah.
Can you tell me your first recollection about your father and what you remember about him when you were a child?
He's a businessman, buying and selling chickens and eggs and turkeys and cowhides and shipping to St. Louis, and that was my job working with him, was to prepare this stuff for shipping to St. Louis.
Did he pay you?
No.
Can you tell me an incident that you had with your mother when you were a child?
My what?
What did you do with your mother when you were a child?
Just ate the food she prepared for me.
Was she good at cooking?
Huh?
Was she good cook?
Yeah.
What do you remember any meals that was special to you as a kid?
Any meals? Well, on the holidays we had, the appropriate meals, turkey for Thanksgiving and so forth. The usual.
So how did a young man like you, living out in the middle of our country, choose the Navy to go into when World War I started?
I like the business of traveling to different countries, Australia, New Zealand, things like that. Traveling around different countries is what I like about it.
Had you traveled before you went in the Navy?
No,
Not even within the state of Missouri?
not in any great distance.
Can you tell me about your brothers and sisters? Maybe one that was closest to you?
But my oldest brother was a lawyer. He had an office in Ozark, Missouri. And my next brother was next to the oldest. He was a school teacher.
What was his name?
Huh?
What was his name?
Orville. Orville.
Was he old enough to teach you?
Huh?
Was he old enough to teach you?
Teach school?
Teach you.
Oh, yeah.
Did he teach little kids?
Yeah. Public schools.
Did they also join the Army or Navy during World War I?
Who?
Your older brothers.
My oldest brother was in the, yeah, he was in the Army.
Did he go to France?
Yeah. Yeah, he went to France.
Before you went in the Navy?
Huh?
Did he go to France before you went into the Navy?
Yeah.
Did you receive letters from him?
Did I what?
Did you receive letters from him while he was in the Army?
Yeah.
What did he say in the letters? Can you
Oh,
recall?
I remember. Well, I was 16 years old in that war. No, I didn't carry any special connections and correspondence with him.
Do you recall when the war started and where you first heard about the war starting?
When the World War started?
Yes.
Yeah, faintly.
Where were you? Where were you?
In Missouri, Chadwick, Missouri.
Where in Missouri? I mean, was there one specific time you remember that you first heard about the war? And how did you feel?
About the war? Well, I felt like everybody else, I guess. Whatever the... well, it's fighting the Kaiser to keep Germany from taking over.
How about before we got in the war, when Europe was fighting, but the United States was not? Did you know about the war then?
Yeah, I knew there was a war going on, but I wasn't interested much. I was interested in girls.
Can you tell me about one of the girls that you were interested in?
No, there's so many of them, I can't remember their names.
So when the war was declared in 1917, you didn't join up right at the beginning.
No.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I was too young. It was for older people.
Do you remember anybody going off to war and you being left behind?
Well, my oldest brother was in the war. And Neighbors.
Do you recall the day your brother left to go off to camp?
Not specifically, no.
When you enlisted with the Navy, where did you have to go to sign up to enlist?
Springfield.
Did you go by yourself?
I believe I did, but as well as I remember, yeah.
You weren't concerned about where your parents thought you were?
No.
But you weren't 19 yet or 18.
No.
You were younger.
I was 16, I think, when I enlisted.
What did they require you to have some type of identification?
When I enlisted, I don't remember.
Can you tell me where they sent you when you signed the paper to enlist?
St. Louis.
I don't remember.
Can you describe where you went?
Oh, we went to Great Lakes, Illinois, and they taught us how to splice rope together and row boats and things that seamen do.
You were hoping to see the world as a
Yeah.
young man.
Yeah.
Did they teach you how to march?
Huh?
Did they teach you how to march and use guns?
Well, when I first went in, you go through a certain training period.
Can you describe some of that training?
Well, they sent me to Great Lakes, Illinois, and we stayed in training there for maybe a couple of weeks. And then they sent me aboard this USS New Hampshire battleship.
Where was the battleship anchored?
I think it was in Philadelphia.
That was a long ways from home.
Yeah.
Did you write your parents?
Did I write to them? Yeah.
What did you tell them in your letters?
Oh, I don't remember. The usual, what every young man would tell them, I guess. About my new duties and my ship, things like that.
Did you have any special area on the ship that you were trained to be on and work with?
Well, we had special quarters where we eat, sleep. Yeah.
What was your job?
I was seaman, scrubbing the decks.
Were you trained to shoot the big guns?
Yeah. 3-inch gun. 3-inch guns.
Did you shoot those guns then before you went out on the ocean?
Yeah, we had target practice. Target practice.
How did it feel the first time those guns were shot off when you were there?
Nothing more than a firecracker going off.
How about when the big guns, the huge guns, were shot?
It didn't bother me.
Do you remember any of your instructors
Instructors,
and how they treated
remember their
you?
names?
Not so much, but how they treated you?
Well, I had a job. I was assigned to a 3-inch gun, loading it.
Right. Were they fair?
Huh?
Were your instructors fair?
Was it what?
Fair.
Fair?
Did they treat you fairly?
Oh, yeah.
When you got on the New Hampshire and you went to sea, what was your job when you were at sea on the New Hampshire?
Well, to keep the ship clean, keep the decks clean. They wooden decks. Wet down the deck with water and sprinkle sand all around. And they had a job, they had a big brick on this wet deck with sand sprinkled around. And you put a big brick on the deck, and in the middle of that big brick you had to put a broom handle, what you all call it, holy stoning. Holy stone the deck to keep the deck clean. And that was my job as a seaman. Keep the deck clean and scrub down the soap and water on the walls of the ship. When they put coal on the ship, the ship gets dirty. Coal dust everywhere. And you had to, all the crew had to clean up the ship.
Was the New Hampshire a coal burner?
Yeah. Yeah. You was a four stacker. You get hell in the water, man.
Did you have to paint the ship also?
Yeah. Paint the, go in dry dock in Philadelphia, and the crew would scrape all the old barnacles off the ships and get it ready for the painters.
Did you scrape?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it hard work?
Yeah. Had different tools, to scrape the seashells and things like that. They attach themselves to the surface of the ship and get it ready for the paint.
Did you go into Philadelphia on leave at any time?
Yeah.
Can you describe that? What you did?
In Philadelphia? Well, on leave, looking for girls.
Did you find any?
Yeah.
Do you remember the day that your boat sailed off into the ocean?
You remember the date? No.
Do you recall the activities that happened that day?
Well, let's see. Well, we used to have target practice, firing the big guns.
What did you shoot at?
They had a floating target at quite a distance away. And I was on loading the guns, that's all.
When your ship headed off into the Atlantic Ocean, was it following other ships? Was it escorting ships also?
Was it what?
Was it escorting ships?
Yeah, it was to keep the area clear of submarines. That was our job. So these ships could go back and forth taking soldiers.
Did you all see any submarines? Did you see any submarines?
Not that I could identify, no. Well, I saw one that they captured. They brought it into Philadelphia, a German submarine, and I went aboard it just to look it over.
What did you see?
Well, it was a submarine and everything was printed in German on, you know. And I went aboard the German submarine to look it over, and they had fine workmanship on it. Everything was A1 shape.
How was it captured? Did you ever know?
Well, the Navy captured it, but I wasn't in the crew that captured it. But they captured the German submarine, brought it into Philadelphia. I went aboard it as a sightseer to look it over. And just sightseeing like everybody else.
Did you ever see any other submarines while you were on the ship?
Well, I sighted things that appeared to be submarines, but and I would announce it. I would announce it over the speaker system, and they would be on the lookout for it. Anything you see that might be a submarine pop up, and you're supposed to tell your ship navigator what you saw, where you saw it, that it had 1 point off the starboard bow, 1 point off the port bow. That's where you tell them where you saw it by. Starboard bow, port bow.
Can you tell me any time that you did see something and what the crew did?
Well, yeah, but by the time those submarines disappear as soon as they realize they've been spotted, they hide.
Did you ever get to fire your gun toward what you thought was a submarine?
Yeah, I was one of the loaders. Put the ammunition in the gun, and the boys in the observation tower, they tell you when to shoot. My job was to put the ammunition into the gun.
Was there any confirmed sinking of submarines? Any confirmed sinking of submarines by the New Hampshire?
Not that I recall. Well, as I say, they captured one, brought it into Philadelphia, and I went aboard the German submarine just to look it over. But I wasn't in the crew that captured it. I just went aboard just to look it over.
Did you see any German prisoners of war?
No.
Did you ever make it to France aboard the ship?
No, I didn't.
How many times did the ship cross the ocean and back while you were in service?
My ship was to keep the lanes clear so our troop ships could go back and forth.
So you never got over to the other side of the ocean?
No. Just keep the lanes, keep the area clear of our troop ships so they could go back and forth to France.
How long at one time would your ship go out on patrol?
How long? Oh, I don't know. Maybe 30 days.
And then when you got back to Philadelphia, you got a break?
Yeah.
And you went off into town again?
Huh?
Did you get leave to go into town again?
Oh, yeah.
While you were in Philadelphia, did you stay aboard the ship, or did you have quarters in a barracks?
No, I stayed aboard the ship.
Can you describe the area that you had to sleep in?
Describe what?
The area that you had to sleep and live in?
On my ship? Well, we had a hammock. And you hook the hammock on the overhead hooks. You climb up in that hammock and sleep.
Where did you keep your clothes? Where did you keep your clothes?
In a locker on the ship.
And when you went on duty, what did you do with your hammock?
What?
When you went on duty, what did you do with your hammock?
Well, we folded it up like you fold it up, looks like a pea pod. You fold it up and wrap it with a rope, something like a clothesline, and stow it, get it out of the way for the next night.
Did your ship ever come under attack by a submarine?
Not that I recall, no.
Were there any casualties on your ship?
No.
Nobody got hurt that you know of?
No.
Did anything happen on board ship that was funny?
What?
That was funny or humorous?
Funny? I didn't see any funny things.
Any serious things?
Huh?
Any serious on days that you remember?
Any what?
Serious days.
Serious? Well, every day was serious.
Did you or know of anybody who gambled on ship?
Gambled? No. No, we didn't have much money to gamble with.
When did you get paid?
Once a month.
Even while on board ship?
$21. $21 a month.
What did you do with your money?
I'd spend it on going ashore.
Did you save any money and send it to your mother or father?
I used to send my mother some once in a while. Wasn't too much to save. I think it was $40 a month, something like that.
Did you make any close friends while you were on board the New Hampshire?
Well, yeah, all my shipmates were close friends.
Any special friends that you remember?
Well, one fellow he lived in West Virginia. We used to go ashore together and pick up the girls.
What was his name?
I forget him. I forget what his name is.
So where did you go on shore to pick up the girls?
Well, usually Philadelphia.
Where in Philadelphia? Any specific place?
Central Park. What is it? I forget the name of the park.
Were you a religious man back in those days?
No.
When the war ended in November of 1918, do you recall the day you heard about the ending of the war?
Yeah.
What were you doing that day?
Get your phone?
What were you doing on that day when the war ended?
I don't remember.
How did you find out? Did they announce it, or did you read it in the newspaper?
Well, everybody on the streets was had greetings for you, and like a cheerful crowd there. The public was cheerful.
Were you in port that day?
Yeah, I was in Philadelphia.
How long after the armistice did you remain on patrol with the ship?
How long did I stay aboard the ship?
After the war was over?
Oh, I don't remember.
Was there any time that you were hoping to go back home?
No.
When you got out of the service in October 1919, where did you go?
I guess I went back to my hometown. And what was that, 1919? My father had a business there. I stayed, helped him with the business. I was buying eggs and chickens, testing the eggs to see if all the eggs are good.
Do you recall how you got home from Philadelphia?
We don't come on a train.
And when you got off the train, did you see your mother that same day?
Yeah,
Did she do anything special for you?
I don't remember.
So you started working for your father.
Yeah,
How long did you work for your father?
oh, not too long. I got in 1819. Then I went back to the Navy in 1921, I think it was.
And how long did you stay in the Navy at that time?
I stayed in there 4 years. And back, got out in 1925, and went in the Washington, D.C. Fire Department.
Do you recall what ship you were assigned to that second tour?
I don't remember.
What was your job on that second tour? What was your job aboard ship that second time?
I went to musician school and yeah. And that's the Admiral's Orchestra.
What did you play?
I played cello.
And which one are you? Did you enjoy that better than scrubbing the deck?
Yeah.
And were you aboard the ship most of the time?
Yeah. That was the Admiral's Orchestra.
Who was the admiral at that time?
His name was Kuntz. Kuntz, K-O-N-T-Z, I believe it. Admiral Kuntz.
And did you go to special performances?
Yeah.
Are there anybody in this picture that you became close friends with?
And anybody in the picture what?
That you became very close friends with?
Well, all of them are my close friends. We play for official functions.
Aboard ship or off ship too?
Both.
And where were you stationed then?
Where
were you stationed at this time?
Yeah. I was on the
Seattle.
on the flagship Seattle.
Yeah. What city was
Huh?
what city was it docked at?
Well, the Seattle was on the west coast. It didn't say any one spot in any length of time.
So it sailed from
It's
port
the
to port.
Admiral's flagship, and it traveled around different parts of the fleet.
When you got off duty for your second tour, where did you go? Back home?
I guess so.
And what job did you get in the late 1920s?
I went in the fire department. That's where I went. Yeah.
Where did you first serve as a fireman? Where did you first serve as a fireman?
And fireman, Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C. is a long way from Missouri. How'd you get here, and why did you come here?
I didn't go to Missouri when I got out.
The second time, you didn't go back.
I stayed on the East Coast.
Had you married by that time?
I don't remember. I guess so.
Can you tell me when your first child was born?
What?
When was your first child born?
My first child? You know that? Bernard?
Brown.
He'd be 80 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he was born in the 1924.
Something like that.
Yeah, something.
You were still in the Navy at that time.
1924?
Mm-hmm.
So did you get married before you went in to the Navy the second time, or were you still single?
I don't remember. It's too far back.
Can you tell me about the woman you married?
She was a girl from Halifax, Nova Scotia. I met her while I was while my ship was in harbor
The Seattle?
in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Right, when the Seattle was in harbor?
Yeah. I met her there. Eventually got married.
Did you get married in Canada?
Yeah. Halifax.
And soon after you chose to leave the service and settle in Washington? After that time you decided to move here to Washington, is that right?
Yeah.
How many children did you have?
Let's see. 4 altogether.
All by your wife? What's your wife's name?
Eileen was my first wife. She was a Canadian girl.
How many children by her?
How many? 2. And my second wife, she worked for the government in Washington, D.C. Her name was Rutherford. She was from Massachusetts, my second wife. And Ann and Nancy, right? 2 by her.
When did you marry the second time?
Huh?
When did you marry the second wife?
When did I marry the second wife? You know, Ann?
Probably in the 30s.
When did your mother and I get married?
I'm not sure. In the 30s sometime.
Huh?
What happened to your first wife?
The first wife? She died, didn't she?
She went back to Nova Scotia.
And you decided to marry Rutherford.
Huh?
You married Rutherford, right?
Sadie Rutherford, yeah.
Sadie Rutherford.
Yeah, she worked for the government.
Did your two older children still live with you?
Huh?
Did your two older children live with you or your first wife?
I don't remember.
Do you remember the time when the stock market went
What?
bust, when the Great Depression started?
Yeah.
How did that affect you?
Well, it didn't affect me too much. I got my paycheck every payday.
Still as a fireman.
Yeah.
What specialty fireman were you? Was there any special thing?
Fire department?
Any special duties?
Oh, I just worked on the fire engines, answering alarms, and putting hose on the fire.
Was there any time that you got into a dangerous position as a fireman?
Yeah, occasionally, yeah.
Were there any times that you saved anybody particular?
Yeah. One time I got a clipping in the newspaper someplace. Haven't I? Got a newspaper clipping me where I have to save somebody from the second floor.
Can you tell me about your pay during
What?
how much you got paid during the Great Depression? Did it change?
I don't remember.
When World War II started, were you still a fireman?
I believe it was, yeah.
Were you concerned about being called up for the Navy again?
No, not really. Because I was in the fire department at the time, and I guess they figure if you're in the fire department, police department, they don't draft you too much.
Were you called in front of a draft board during World War II?
I don't remember.
In World War I, you weren't drafted, were you? You volunteered, right?
Volunteer.
Do you remember the day that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
What went through your mind on that day when you first heard?
Well, it just felt like everybody else. That means there's some trouble ahead.
Did you know anybody who worked at your fire department that was drafted during World War II?
Yeah. Yeah. 2 or 3 younger fellas went in the service.
And when the World War II ended, did you celebrate?
Well, like everybody else, I guess.
Well, thank you for your interview today, Mr. Brown.
No problem.
Is there any other remarks you'd like to make so that people can remember you in any particular way?
No, it's not.
Well, thank you for your interview.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Today is November 28th, 2004. One more topic I'd like you to discuss with me is the Spanish influenza, the flu epidemic.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
What happened to you?
Well, I was, I had some of it myself. I was in the hospital at Philadelphia. Hospital in Philadelphia.
Did other shipmates come down with the flu? Did any other shipmates come down with the flu?
Oh yeah, I love him.
Did any die?
I guess so, yeah. Had quite a few of them in the hospital at the time I was there.
How many weeks did you stay in the hospital?
Oh, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks, I guess. Don't remember.
Have you been sick any other time?
No.
Not as sick as like that? Can you tell me how it felt? And
How what?
how having that flu felt to you?
How what?
How did the flu feel?
I didn't notice it from any other illness. I don't know any specific part of your body that you would notice.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.